get your typography right, you've gotten your design right. That has been my rule for years. If you can get your typography right, you've gotten your design right. Trust me, typography speaks a lot in design. And then another point in terms of accessibility in typography is selecting fonts that are legible for users with visual impairments. There are users that will make use of our product that might have problems with the eyes, not like my own now. There are some that can't see very well, and they might have problems with their eyes. So you need to use fonts that can work and is easily readable for users that have visual impairments. And there are many platforms like today that have access to free fonts. One of them is Google Fonts. It's an open end. We have Adobe Fonts, we have Typescale, and and contrast checkers that you can make use of plugins on Figma to be able to check for color contrast on your design right in Figma before you submit it to the stakeholders or present it, or send it to the developers. And so I'm going to share my screen now just to give us some practical examples. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. So there will be room for questions, though. Please, let's note that question. I know we have a lot of questions. That one is guaranteed. So on this, just give me a second. I want to try. So if we look properly, we can see that this is a design system that I work with, right? And we can see part of the things that I was explaining earlier on in terms of having textiles. So if you look on the right-hand side, if you follow my mouse, you see display 2XL. So you can name it anything, right? But if you name it a display or header or heading, it works. Some people name theirs heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. It depends on the style that suits you best, and for you to be able to explain when you are handing over to the developers. But if you use heading and display, are more general terms that people are familiar with, so that it will be easy for easy collaboration on your design file. So in this situation now, I named it display 2XL and medium, semi-bold, bold. So most times I rarely use bold in some cases, and I will show you why. I will show you an example why. So I told us to go to this book on Refactory UI to read about typography. I'll show us how to set this up ourselves when we want to start a new project. And then let's now look at the properties of this particular textile. We could see it is regular. We could see the font type, the font name. This is what we call font name. And from this, you can see many available fonts. We mentioned of sans fonts the other time. Now let's see if what I said is correct. And I said sans fonts have different body width. We can see it has light, it has regular, it has bold, it has light italic. That's typical of a sans font. Inter as well is a typical of a sans serif font, because it has thin, it has extra. So always go for fonts that has as much body weight as possible, so it will be easy for you and it will help with consistency on your UI design. I cannot emphasize this enough. And another thing to take note is letter spacing. So when you want to set up your typography or your text style for header text, make sure that your letter spacing is not too far apart. In fact, it can be in negative, but not too much negative. Let them be closer when you want to have a display font, right? Because when text, and I will show you the reason why in this book that I told us to go and read, which is Refactory UI. I've been making use of that book since 2020. It has been with me. Even if I change my devices, I keep that book. It's very precious. It's very bright. I've given a countable number of people, and it has been. It's still, the book is still valid till today. And so, when you want to have your letter spacing for your display font, make sure that the letter spaces is not too far away. I'm giving us practical now. The letter spaces is not too far away, so as to make the text not to be distant to each other, because for big text or bold text or heading text or display text is best. It looks more great when the text are closer. Now let's consider a body text, for example. Now let's consider text medium 16. Can we see that the letter spacing is not negative now, is 0, which is okay, because the smaller the text style, the more neutral the letter spacing should be, so that it will be clumsy, it won't be hard to read for the users. Some people even increase theirs to 1 or 2, but I will advise 0. 0 is still more advisable in this regard. I hope I'm still communicating.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So now, then someone wants to join the call. Okay. So let me quickly go to show us how this is used. Let me go to landing page. Okay, if you want to use the whole year to load, I'm not going to wait for you, my friend. Okay, I shouldn't be showing this design on this call. I've not submitted it yet. Let's see. Okay. I know most of you be like, what's this? Is this not a cheat code? So this is a design system that I use for work to make things faster for me. Although I've not been using it that much, but still, it's very useful when I need some design assets quickly. So now I won't be throwing the questions to us immediately. I'm going to discuss it first. So in this situation now, even for you, remove the fact that you're a designer, right? Imagine you're a user on this platform. What is the first thing that you are going to see? This is the hero section. We can unmute our mic one after the other. What's the first thing that is visible to you as you are seeing this interface? What's the first thing that catches your attention?
Beautiful analytics to grow smarter. That's
exactly. That is typography for you. Can you see how important it is in UI? Are we on the same page?
yes, sir.
That's how important it is. That's the first message. Let's neglect the picture, the image, the video, whatever. But the first thing that your users are going to see is that big bold text. That is what we call heading 1. But you can name it heading 1, but when you want to convert it into code, you have to change it to heading 1, heading 2, and all of that. So that's how important your typography is. So imagine you use a font that is wobble, that is not clear, that is not, legible enough. They will see it, but they won't be able to read it. And then we can now see the importance of hierarchy. So that means that we want them to see beautiful analytics to grow smarter first before they see this subtext, which is powerful. So before you can read this powerful self-service product, you've read, pardon my English, you've read beautiful analytics to grow smarter like 10 times before you can even read this subtext. If I'm wrong, please let me know. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's it. So that means you want them to see the bigger text first due to hierarchy. So if it were to be some newbie designers, now you understand the principle. Now it's not just that, because they've been doing it like that, we must also do. It's not. No, this is the reason. It's not because people have been designing like that, you have to design like that. The reason is because you want the users to see the most important information first. That's why they say, in hierarchy in age, they'll say, 20-year-old is older than 17-year-old. That's hierarchy, right? Hierarchy in height, 6 feet is taller than 5'7". That's the same thing in design too. So there are some informations that you want to display, that you want the users to see first before they see the other. That's it. That's the interpretation of hierarchy, and that was the solution to the assignment I gave them. And yes, those that submitted did well, right? I will also give my remarks on that. So technically, that's it. And then when I was talking about breakpoint and responsive font style, so we can see now this is the mobile view on the right hand side. Now, if we have to look at this is display XL semi bold. Let's check. We can see this is 60 and then semi bold. So now I know there will be some questions on line height. How do I get the perfect line height? I know that might be some questions that might be in our mind. Now, what do I do? There are formulas to this. You can multiply the font size that you use. In this case, our font size is 60. You can multiply 60, multiply by 1.2, and you have 72. That's how they got it. And okay, once we like, where is 1.2 coming from? Are we having the same thoughts? Please, so yes, at this point, I think I want to hear from us. What are our thoughts so far? Like, where is this guy getting all these things from? I want to hear from us. Yes. What are our thoughts and observation? And if I'm moving too fast, also let me know.
No, sir, I'm getting it as you are saying. So I'm just wondering, like, line height and 1.2 are like where you got the 1.2 from and all that.
Have you heard about it before prior to this call?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other person? Okay. I think James is now in now. Oh, James, well, I'll share us the recording so you won't miss out. So like I was saying, so where did this 1.2 come from? There's what we call REM, and that was why I told us to go and read the book, refractory UI. I will see if I was back to that book to go and study it, but I will show us a little bit about it in that book too, before we leave this call. So it talks about there is a distance between letter spacing and line height. That is where we have the REM. So REM is also a unit instead of pixel, that we use that associates with text and typographies. And so if you want to give your heading text a good line height, all you just have to do is to multiply the text size. If it is 60, if it is 50, if it is 70, in this case it is 60. You just multiply 60 by 1.2 REM. Then you have 72. So that will give you the perfect. And some people, in some cases, they use percentage. So now I use percentage because percentage is even more easy. So in this situation, I will just use 120 percentage, and that's it. It's almost the same. But for body text, if you use 120 percentage, it will be too clumsy. Now let's try. This is a body text. I know all of these things. It's because it might still be new to some of us. We will still have to go and read more. I've given us materials, enough materials, enough. How did they get this 28? 18 times 1.2. No. 18 times 1.5. 27. So for body text, you can either use 1.5 or 1.6 REM multiply by your text size so as to give the line spacing, the line height, I mean, more spacing. Best to avoid you being lost, I just use 150%. So 150% is perfect in terms of when you want to use percentage for your body line height for your body text. But for heading, make sure that your line height is not too far apart. That's why we use 1.2 multiplied by the text size, or 120%. Some people even use 110%, or 120 is still perfect, so that it will be too clumsy. This, if we still don't understand more, we can go and research, and if you have questions, we can ask before we end the call. So that's a typical example. And then another example of hierarchy using typography. In fact, we can use hierarchy with color. The one you will see first is the one that is bold and then has a deeper version of gray. Then the next one you will see, which is the subtext, so you can combine both color and text size or weight to differentiate hierarchy. So you want them to see this is the header, this is the body. So head should be bigger than the body. So the header, in terms of text size or font size and text color, is bigger than the subtext. So hierarchy is used in typography almost every instance. It's used here as well, used here as well, even in FAQ, your FAQ session. So that's why when I see some designs and they are using the same text size, maybe you're using 16 here, you're also using 16 here, then I know that, then I can see it from a glance. I know what to review. If I'm your team lead, I know what to review once I see your design from your usage of hierarchy, using typography, and then color text. So all of these are just interpretation of UI. It applies in almost everywhere. It applies even in footer session. So that's for web, and I can see show us for mobile. I can show us for mobile. This I designed some months back. Okay, good. Let me use this as a good example. So we could see that in fact, so we could see that the one that is to be prominent is the years. The years is important. When the user lands on this page, this is mobile app, right? That I designed some months back. What is important to the user in this case is the years, and not they want to see the experience, but they want to see the number of years of the experience. I don't know if I'm communicating. They want to see the gender, but they want to see which gender it is itself. So if it's to be some designers, they will make sure that gender is bigger than male. That's wrong. Age, they want to see the age, but they want to see the actual age itself first, because they already know age is age. but I want to see that age. Is it 20? Is it 30? Is it 100? Is it 150? And all of that. That's another example of hierarchy using typography and text color. So by the time you learn all these things, it will become part and parcel of you that you don't even need to, it becomes your default setting. Yeah, that's the English I'm looking for. Yes, let me use this card as well as an example. When you are checking this card as a user, important things that you want to see is your heart rate, the calories you've burned, and the time. So if you are to display this information, what should be bigger should be the number, the figure, or the data, yes, of the heart rate itself, and not the calories burned. And not, so the same thing applies. So because that's what I want to see from a glance. I can already see that, oh, this is heart rate, but I want to see the heart rate itself, the figure, the number. I don't know how I can emphasize this enough, because it's one of the things that set you apart, that sets your design apart, that sets, in fact, you can grow from a junior to a mid-level in a matter of weeks if you can put this into practice consistently. I think that's enough example while I await our questions. Yep. If you have questions, the floor is open.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, so what about, like, most times when we are trying to start a new project, and you see that the line height, it's like automatic, like the Figma generates line heights for you. So in that case, would you still use the 1.2 or 1.5 theory, or you just go with the flow?
So don't just go with the flow of what a default design software gives you. The tool should not control you. You should control the tool. If I'm communicating.
Yes, sir.
So the tool should not control you. You should control the tool. There are times that I've not really observed this because it's been a long time. I create mine myself for years, so I'm not even bothered whatever the tool gives me. I don't even check. Just if you, not that you're saying it now, I don't know. So if I'm going to start a new, let me type poker. So it's not giving me any default. 16, and I can use, if it's a body text, 150%. That's it. That's all I need. I'm good. So if I'm starting a new project, I will just come here. Since I've set it, I'll come here. I'll click on plus, create style, body text, regular. And then created it. But I don't need it in this situation. So don't let the tool control you. You should control the tool. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So, and if you're looking for a guide, it is in what I've given you people already. It is in that book, Refractory UI. And I'm going to share us a little bit before we round up the call in 10 minutes now. Any other question before I do my closing remarks? Okay, that means we all understood. All right. So let me share my screen quickly. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we
Okay.
can see it, sir.
So now to answer your question about establishing a type scale, most interfaces use way too many type scale. Unless a team has a rigid design system in place, it is not uncommon to find every pixel value from text to 24 pixel has been used in a UI somewhere. So now let's see this example. So when you use odd numbers in your text size, some people might decide to use 13 pixel. Some don't even know what to do. They just pick anything randomly. That's the example that they are showing us here. Your UI will be clustered. So now 18 pixel, 13 pixel here, say 11 pixel here, 26 here, 15 here, 13 here, 12 here, 17 here, 14 here. We know you're a junior, you're a newbie from a glance, right? So choosing your font sizes without having a system in mind, it's a bad idea for two reasons. First, it leads to annoying inconsistency in your design. Two, it slows down your work. So how do you now define a design system? If you go to page 89 in your UI Bible, I call it UI Bible. Your UI Bible, you'll see there. Choosing a scale, just like spacing and sizing, a linear scale will not work. So what do we mean by a linear scale? You don't want to waste your time designing between 46 and 48 for a larger scale. So there's an approach. Since we know 16 pixel is common for almost every website, in fact, 90% of a website on the internet today, their body text are between 16 pixel. So we know that is default. So that's just what I'm saying is what they are also telling us in this book. So you just apply your ratio to get the next value. So in this situation, I was talking about Harry Hem the other time, how we got the first 1.2. So one he hem is 16 pixel. All of this is in this book. I don't want to dwell much on it. If you take your time, sit down and read it, you understand. So you might end up with fractional value. So no way you are going to have 31.25 pixel. There's no way. Avoid fractional values by all means. You have to avoid it by all means, right? So for interface design, this is a very good typography skill that you can go with. And that's what I use, from 12 pixel to 14 to 16 to 18 to 20 to 24 to 30 to 36 to 48. Some people have 40, so there's no crime in it. 40 is still great, but 45 is bad. It's an odd number. So and then 72, 120, as much as possible. So I think this should answer so many of our questions. As it, I think it should be relating to Coca's question. So
Yes, sir.
So now looking at a correction to that interface, we could see that is a lot better now. It's not 13 here, 11 here, 7.5. In fact, I've seen 6.258 pixel before in Figma. There was one of my students there. I was like, what is this? How can you use 6.258 pixel as text size? Who does this? But I understood that, everybody will pass through that stage. If you don't let them know, they are not going. If you don't teach, if you don't correct people, they are not going to know what's the right industry standard guidelines to use. And once you start with this, there's no going back. I promise you, if you are being consistent with this, there's no going back. And then your UI is going to have a massive, when I say massive turnaround, so that's just it. Basically, there is no magic to it. And then use good fonts. So you could see that even in this book, they recommended good fonts. They recommended good fonts. And ignore typefaces with less than 5 weight. Ignore typefaces with less than 5 weight. Optimize. It's just like, I didn't go through this book while I was just talking my own point. You could see that it's almost the same. Optimize for legibility. And here they were able to explain letter spacing and text height. I'm happy for this. Just the way I explained it. So tighter letter spacing. So if there are some fonts that naturally have tighter letter spacing, they are good for heading fonts. Oh my God. I think I'm enjoying this. I just have to let me cut it here because we can continue on and on and on and on. It's exactly there is typography is so sweet if you can understand it. It is so good. You know, how do you know if a font is good for heading or body text? Just check the letter spacing. Some have a default, a wider letter spacing and a tighter letter spacing. So the one with tighter letter spacing are good for heading font. The one with wider letter spacing are good for body text. Simple as ABC. It's a lot. It's a lot. I feel like I should jump into. I will still jump into Figma today, obviously, but that'll be later later in the day. So one thing that's is also great is steal from people who care, right? Yeah, you can go to your favorite website and then you check the type of font they use. There is a plugin on Chrome, font checker, you can use to check, or you click on inspect on your browser and you go to styles. You'll be able to see the type of text they use. And I mean the text style or the font style. And also developing your intuition is also great. This comes with consistency. Keep your line height in check. Keep your, hey my God, keep your line height in check. I'm not sure if James is on this call, but if he is, I could have used, okay, he is on this call. I could have just used, oh, okay. I opened this file on my other PC, on my Windows. I thought I opened it here. But yeah, I could have opened that is Figma file to see us that something is wrong with that body text. James, if you are there, unmute your mic. Can you see that I've not corrected it yet? And you can see that something is wrong. Are you there,
Yes,
James?
Yes.
So if I'm to say this on the group now, I might say, oh, the line height is bad. Some people are like, who is this guy? What's he saying? His designer is beautiful like this. But in reality, something is wrong. So you can only see from the perspective of being consistent with this thing over the years and knowing these principles. When you want to work with word, I'm telling you, if you guys want to go word class, these are the things you need to put in check. So you can see that this text is too much for users to read. It's too much. Why? And also it's clumsy because of the characters per line. There's a limit to characters that you can use per line. In fact, this is very imminent on website UI that most of us design. Some people will just design it based on, oh, there is space on my interface, so let me fill the whole interface. How many of us has been there before? If you have been, everybody has been there. If everybody has been there, where you feel like the space on my UI or my frame is big, so let me just fill it with text. If you are there, it will signify I want to hear us speak. If you've been there, let me signify. Exactly. So where the space on our interface is as wide as anything, we just feel like, oh, let's fill it up. It's wrong. So let me give you a simple trick. What I use is 75 characters per line. What does that mean? I just go to my frame, if it is that will contain my text, and make sure it is no more than 720 pixel. Oh, I wish I can show us something. Good. This is a good example. Fixed. Can we see 768? So in fact, 768 is too big. Sometimes I don't go less than 720 pixel. So that way it will help me keep my characters in check. So because I have the whole space on my interface does not mean I must fill it with text. I think the key points are coming at the later part of this call. For those that have jumped out, I'm sorry. But for those that are still here, congratulations. So we could see that 40 to 45 characters per line, 60, you could see the differences. So 75 characters per line can sometimes work, but don't make sure you stick between 45 to 75 range in terms of characters per line. And that is like 450 pixel to 750 pixel for those that might be confused. So when you are dealing with a wider content, all of that, just go It's time. It's 10 already. Let me leave us so we can enjoy our weekends. But for those that are wise, they will come back to this material and you know and swallow it up. So that's it for today. So when we have another call on typography, we'll consider baseline, we'll consider how to use typography in your cards, we'll consider what else. We have more line heights, how to use line heights proportionally, and how to make use of fonts, accounting for font size as well. Some people use different font size in a particular text. How to use of this is just what I just explained earlier on about the 1.5, about the header text and all of that. So this we'll discuss on next week. Should we still consider typography or we should go into another topic? I want to hear our opinions. Seems like typography is so broad. We can't finish it in a day.
Yes, if we can do more on typography next week, it will be really appreciated. Probably maybe if we can just like touch a few, but I would still like us to do typography next week, sir.
Okay, noted. From Gideon, is that the same on our hands?
Yes,
I
sir.
concur.
Yes, we can continue. It's like everybody's enjoying typography. Typography is really good if you can get it. Trust me, and it's quite easy than before. That's why I said this UI Bible is very good. You can follow the guidelines. Sometimes what I do, I screenshot some parts of this book, I bring it into my Figma file, I follow the instruction. But now it's on my head. I don't need to screenshot anything, right? So once you can do this consistently, when you see your UI, you now you compare and contrast your previous and the current that you follow the principle. You will be amazed from the difference you are going to see by yourself. In fact, it's not about adding colors. No, most of my designs now is not about having 10 colors. No. You can design an aesthetically pleasing UI with less colors, but once you get your typography right, you'll be on the right track. So that's it. That'll be it. That'll be all for today. For those that are live on this call, I'll say congratulations once again. And then for those that will probably watch the recording,